Okay, well, we're back, and before we were going on break, we were talking a little bit about hepatitis C and the two different forms of it. You get it, or you resolve it, or you basically get it and it remains active, and that's very dangerous, or it becomes persistent, which means you have a low-level viral load. And we can usually do what they call a polymerase chain reaction, a PCR, and we can tell actually how much virus particles you actually have in your body. Now, what we usually look for is liver enzyme elevation, and that doesn't have to be there to have chronic persistent hepatitis C. So in those cases, if you were someone who got a transfusion, or you might have been someone during the 80s that was involved in some of the cocaine use in the area, we're rolling up dollar bills and putting them in your nose and sharing them with other people, it's possible that you might have contracted hepatitis C. You might have gotten sick, you might not have gotten sick, but it's not a bad idea to at least get your liver checked. We do a lot of liver ultrasounds. If it looks normal, if it has any sclerosis or any hardening, then it might be worthwhile to do that test. It's a pretty simple test. It's not a very expensive blood test to see if you have any antibodies to the hepatitis C virus. And if you do, then you do want to do a viral load, and you want to make sure that you've killed all the virus that you can. If not, then you take the antivirals, which are very expensive, of course, but that's the modern day pharmacia. So we have John on the phone. John.
Yes, doctor. Jumping back where Ray was a bit back, I was watching television here a week or two ago, and there was something that intrigued me since I've lost family members to cancer. And it was another country other than the U.S., and believe me, I wish I could remember. But they're trying to create an antibiotic for cancer from elephants, of all things. They indicated the elephants hardly ever get a cancer, and it would probably take about 3 years to get some type of a shot for them. I'm kind of wondering if you've heard anything about it.
No, I have not, but it sounds like the right place to go. I mean, if you're looking at a disease population or disease-free population, the question has to be asked, why do they not develop a particular type of disease? Could be cancer, and then investigating, something about their body that is different, or their system that is different than other systems, and see if that can somehow be translated into a potential cure.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. And they use that in the reverse way for other disease processes, like this new, one of the treatments for diabetes, this what they call SGL2 inhibitors, sodium glucose transport inhibitor. And this is a area in the kidney which works to reabsorb sugar, and works as up to a blood sugar of about 220, and after that it can't keep up with it, and then you start spilling sugar into your urine. So SGLT deficient people, there's a population of people that basically were born with no sodium glucose transport system in their kidneys. So they're always spilling sugar into their urine, but they never develop kidney failure. They never develop any bad outcomes as a result of having this SGL2 defect in their kidneys. So this population was studied, and a medication was created that simulated this particular problem, and they never suffered from low blood sugar. They never suffered from any of the problems that people do when they take insulin or some of the other drugs. So here, hence, is SGL2. Same thing with the difference between this new drug that they come out for cholesterol. They study the population that has a low or very high LDL or bad cholesterol. And if they study that population, they noticed a difference between that one and people who have low LDLs. It's just basically LDL receptor destroyer. So they make this product that blocks the destroyer of the LDL receptor, so your LDL receptors can grab more of that LDL and remove it from our bloodstream. So, this is the immunotherapy. This is, some of the newer things that are coming out, because we can start to unravel some of these mysteries of our body and modern science and extrapolate those into cures, or at least attempted cures at some of the diseases. So hold on to your seat. Let's hope that some good things come of it. Not like a movie like I Am Legend, where they cure cancer and next thing you know they create a population of zombies. So you've seen those movies, and let's hope that that's not the outcome of curing cancer. But anytime you start messing with Mother Nature, some things can go wrong, and maybe some things always do. But hopefully it's not that bad. But we'll see. So anyway, getting a little feedback there, Mr. Producer. Okay, he's trying something new tonight with some headphones and trying to, that way we don't get any feedback on the callers. But anyway, is John still on the phone? Don hung up? Okay, good. Not that that's good, but I didn't want to know if he had another question, or if I didn't give him the explanation that he wanted. But thanks for all the callers. Really good questions tonight, and I'm going to digress on with hepatitis C and go back to that. So if you're in that population and you're not sure about your past, maybe you had multiple sexual partners, maybe you had some risk behavior, you might want to think about it your next blood test with your doctor, to have him throw in a hepatitis panel just to be sure that you're haven't been exposed to any of those products, and go through that. The good news is the therapy is pretty simple. It's not toxic, not like interferon, which was a chemotherapeutic agent to stimulate your white blood cells, made people feel like, and now the newer therapies are pill form, and they're very expensive, but they do unstealth the virus, and they help your immune system to kill that. And things like that could very well be where cancer chemotherapy lies, getting medications out there that stimulate your immune system and rev it up rather than it being revved down. Ray?
Yeah, Doc, you're talking about Hep C, and I talked to a few people who had Hep C, and they claimed that there's a cure, and you had mentioned 98% or whatever. But then you started talking about there may still be remnants in their blood or whatever. Is this a STD, sexual transmitted disease? If they had it at one time and you have relations with someone who had Hep C at one time and they're cured, can you still get it because there's a byproduct still in their system? Is this something that people have to worry about, like after they're cured of it, that they have to be cautious as far as relationships?
That's a very good question.
Okay, and I'll let somebody else call, but I just had to get that one in. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. Once you usually have had gone through the treatment, your viral load goes down to very, very low levels. I mean, let's suppose I'm looking at a chronic persistent patient. They don't, maybe they have mild liver enzyme elevation, maybe they don't. They usually run about 6 million virus particles. They can amplify that. Doesn't seem like a lot, virus particles for a milliliter of blood, but that's not a whole bunch of virus. That's not like someone who's chronically active that may be having, hundreds of millions of virus particles. Those people that have chronic active and a large viral load are infectious. Those people that have been treated maybe have undetectable virus load, are probably not going, and I would say greater 99% chance not being able to spread the disease. However, that all being said, it's probably not a bad idea to give some precautions for those people, and not be. But the chances are, if you have your doctor run what's called that viral load or a PCR test, you can see how many virus particles you have, and that's the test they usually use to define a cure. And most of the times I've seen it, there are no virus particles detected. Which brings us to one other issue that happens to have with that, and that's HIV. HIV is very contagious early on in the disease and very late in the disease. Very early on in the disease, you're teeming with virus particles, and that means you have your body, as the virus is replicating all over the place, and your body is trying to kill it. Eventually, it does try to catch up, and it does destroy most of the virus. However, in the process of continuing to do that, because the virus cannot be rid, it basically burns its immune system out, and then that's when you're left with low T helper cells and low T cell counts, and then the virus particles again start to rise, and on top of that, and then in the late stages of disease, you become very effective. So this is basically what we call a viral load issue, meaning that if I have a cold in the first few days of the cold, I'm more contagious than I am in the last part of the days because my immune system has cranked in, it has killed most of the virus, rid most of the virus. I'm still left with some of the symptoms of the viral infections, as the stuffy nose and the headache and maybe some of the other symptoms of that, but I'm not contagious. And that's the sad part about things, because you may be more contagious early on in the disease when you're just starting to get the runny nose and the sneezing than you are in the late phases of the disease when you don't run a fever and you don't have those particular problems. So this is why I don't think you really have to worry about it if you've been effectively treated, and the doctors will usually do a viral load and will tell you where you're at, and but exercise caution while you are being treated, because then you could still spread that virus particle during that. And so I hope that answers your question. Is it true with strep and all the other things? But we're going to go to break, and now to talk about strep, I'll talk about that bacterial infection when I get back.